I'm Dr. Manuel G. Saldivar. I'm a cognitive psychologist and a university faculty member. On this channel, I focus on ideas and concepts that will help you become more successful as a college student. Please join me for today's episode. When students begin college, they're often aware that there are many differences between high school and college. However, some of these differences are not as well understood as students think, and furthermore, some of these differences are actually more myth than reality. In this episode, I'm going to review three main ideas that will help you adjust to college. First is the idea that many students bring with them from high school when they start college, which is that high school and college are different. Strictly speaking, this is true, but I discourage students from thinking about this difference in this way. The danger here is that you can begin to believe that college is some strange thing, a game, a contest that has its own rules. And if you can just figure out the college rules, then that's how you succeed in college. And once college is over, you can go on with your life and do things differently. Instead, I encourage my students to consider that really it's the high school experience that is different. It's high school that you will eventually look back on and see that was something very different from the rest of my life. College is more like the real world that you're going to enter once you finish college. High schools often offer second, third, fourth, even fifth chances. That is, students have a lot of room to fix mistakes, to turn in late work, to make up for problems that have happened in the past, and then be able to continue. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but the problem here is that college is not set up to offer a lot of second chances, just like the real world very seldom offers second chances. Now, the point here is not to be afraid of taking risks or to feel that making a mistake will doom you, although it is, of course, important to try and avoid making mistakes as much as possible. But rather, you should learn not to take for granted that making a mistake, forgetting to turn in work, forgetting a deadline, doing something wrong will automatically be forgiven, and that you'll get a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance to make up for that mistake. Sometimes in college, just like in the rest of the real world, you'll make a mistake and there'll be some penalty. That doesn't mean you're a bad person, certainly doesn't mean you're a bad college student, but it means you've made a mistake. And the penalties typically are meant to help you learn that fact and hopefully motivate you to avoid making that same mistake again in the future. One way to avoid making mistakes is to learn to be self-sufficient. This is the second point that I wanted to raise in this episode. Self-sufficiency is the idea that you are in charge of your own learning. You're not in it alone. I know many students come into college afraid that professors don't care about them, that they're not going to answer questions or support you. In my experience, and I've been teaching college students for almost 20 years, this is not the case. Obviously, professors would find another line of work if they didn't really care about teaching students. Frankly, other lines of work that would be easier or at least pay more money than we can make being college professors. 99% of us are here because we enjoy working with young people, teaching students. But self-sufficiency requires you as a student to be in charge of your own learning. Professors are here to point you in the right direction, to help you understand the big picture of a particular profession or career path. If you want to be an accountant, your accounting professors will teach you the ideas, the concepts, techniques you need to do accounting in a business setting. If you want to be an engineer or a nurse or a medical doctor, your professors will teach you these ideas in the big picture, why they matter, how to put those ideas into practice, to do stuff, to do nursing, to do engineering. But at the end of the day, professors can't take you by the hand and help you learn every fact, every figure, every particular idea. We can only point you in the right direction, make you understand what ideas are important and why they matter, but the rest is up to you. That's what self-sufficiency is all about. Here's an important example and a particular area where students coming out of high school often struggle. You can see on this graph the horizontal axis shows different periods of your life: high school, college, grad school, if you go to grad school. And by grad school, of course, I mean medical school, law school, business school, or other kinds of graduate programs. And then eventually you reach the professional part of your life, your career. The vertical axis shows the amount of time spent learning. This curved orange line that divides the graph, the space above the orange line represents time that you spend learning independently on your own outside of class. The area underneath the curving orange line represents time that you spend learning in class, being guided by a teacher or a professor. As you can see, the 50% point is roughly right there. As you move from high school to college, college to graduate school, if you're in a profession that requires going to grad school, or you just decide you want to earn a master's degree or a doctoral degree, but certainly by the time you reach your profession, you can see as you follow the sloping orange line that you'll be expected to spend less and less time learning in a formal classroom setting and more time learning outside of class. Students in high school typically spend almost all their time learning in class. This may work in high school, but this often causes challenges with students when they reach college. At the college level, you're expected to spend almost as much time learning on your own outside of class as you do in class. For this reason, the time you spend in class is going to focus on helping you understand the big picture, being aware of key concepts or ideas related to whatever the subject is you're learning. Professors will often provide opportunities, whether it's in the form of in-class activities or different assignments or projects you might work on, to help you understand how to use the ideas you're learning about. But you're also going to be expected to spend a lot of time outside of class learning those ideas on your own. This is why you're assigned readings, problem sets, sample questions, and other kinds of activities that you're expected to complete outside of class. They're not just busy work, they're meant to help you learn. And again, this is going to be part of your preparation for being a professional, especially if you're in a career that requires going to graduate school. You can see from the graph, graduate students, that is students in medical school, law school, business school, other kinds of graduate programs, spend most of their time not in class, but on their own learning these ideas. And certainly as a professional, you'll never be able to stop learning. There'll be a point in your life where you're not going to a formal classroom setting very frequently. But if you want to be an attorney, engineer, medical doctor, nurse, or any other professional field, you'll have to keep up with changes in your profession. You'll have to keep up with the stuff that is new and different and advancing in your field. So you'll never stop learning. There'll just be a point where you are going to spend very little time in a formal classroom setting and more time learning on your own independently. Sorry for the interruption, but if you're enjoying this video, please like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon for notifications. If you come into college and have an attitude that the learning only takes place in class, if you don't do your readings, if you don't do the other kinds of preparation that professors ask of you, then you are going to struggle in college. That's just a fact. This isn't meant to make college seem impossible. It's just meant to point out to you that when your professors ask you to do things outside of class, it's not busy work. It's meant to help you prepare, because you need to put in your time and put forth your own effort to learn, just as your professors will put in their time and effort to do their part when you are in class. College students, again, are expected to be self-sufficient, but don't feel like you're unsupported. There's plenty of support available for students from your college or university. In fact, in future episodes of this series, we'll explore some of these supports that are available for college students. But whatever support's available, whatever help you're able to get, you need to be responsible for asking for help when you need it. And that's part of being self-sufficient too. Finally, you need to be sure that you understand what is the purpose of college. Because of the high school experience, many students come into college and tend to focus more on grades, and certainly grades matter as a college student. Of course, grades are very important in college. You need to maintain a minimum GPA in order to not be kicked out of school. If you are receiving financial aid or have a scholarship, you typically have to have a minimum GPA in order to continue to be eligible for that scholarship or to receive financial aid. So grades matter, but the point you should take away is that your learning matters more than your grades. Many students, and I'll include myself back in my student days, have had an experience in high school especially where you might earn a very good grade, but once a class is over, you realize you didn't really learn anything. You don't remember anything about what happened in that class. There are many reasons for this, typically because you spent a lot of time cramming instead of actually trying to understand what was being taught. And of course, sometimes you may have had instructors who were not very demanding, who weren't good educators. That's why you didn't learn. In college, if you are pursuing a profession, if you're trying to enter a career as an engineer or a nurse or an accountant or whatever your desired profession is, at some point you'll have to actually prove that you know how to do nursing, how to do accounting, how to do engineering. At that point, your grades will cease to matter and only your ability, what you have actually learned to be able to do, is going to matter. So there's an important balance here. Yes, grades matter. I've explained, given a few examples why that is. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure you're actually learning to do whatever it is you're going to tell a prospective employer that you're able to do. That's why they would hire you. And if you are focusing on grades and not really learning how to do anything, not really being able to be an accountant or an engineer or a nurse or whatever your profession is, then the people that have actually learned how to do those things are going to have the advantage. And you are going to probably struggle to get a job or to remain employed. So to review, in this episode of College Success, we've looked at the specific topic of adjusting to college. We discussed the idea that college is more like the real world. It's high school that actually is the outlier. That is, the stuff you learn to do in college, the skills, the abilities you have to have in college will actually carry you through the rest of your life. One of these skills is the ability to be self-sufficient, to manage your own learning, to be in charge of your own career. This doesn't mean that no one will help you. There are supports available for college students, and we'll explore some of these supports in episode 2 of this series. But nonetheless, you need to be in charge of your learning. You need to be in charge of your own academic career and know when to ask for help when you need it. And finally, keep in mind that the learning you leave college with, the ability to do things in whatever your field is, whatever your profession is, that's going to matter far more than whatever your grades are. Because someday, your grades will just be your grades. They'll be in the past. But your employer will expect you to actually be able to do whatever it is they've hired you to do. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll click on the thumbs up icon below. And if you really enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications by clicking on the bell icon. YouTube will notify you of future videos added to this channel. Remember, college success is challenging, it takes work and effort, but it is certainly within your grasp. Good luck.